Ladies and gentlemen, there's no better way to get up than to get up with Garret. Garret is a third-generation success credentialed real estate entrepreneur who's here to give you tips, tricks, and share stories of success. So without any further ado, ladies and gentlemen, Garret Bedron.
Dougie Fresh.
How we doing?
What's up, babe? Welcome back from Key West.
Absolutely.
Right?
Thank you.
Yeah, I think you got some color there on your fair skin, right?
A little bit. I want to go back, man. There's nothing.
Ready to go back.
It's crazy. Yes, I'm ready to go
Good
back.
for you. and I'm ready to get a haircut. I'm about a week overdue. But, COVID is just everywhere, so you got to be careful. And maybe next week I'll come with a fresh cut for you.
Absolutely. Nice.
Good. So happy New Year. Appreciate it.
I
hope you had a good, safe time with your family and your new wife and everything. Looked like a good time. So I know you remember last year when we started the show, I talked about we got a pandemic puppy named Daisy. That was a big deal. We got a pandemic puppy. Everyone's changing. We're spending more time at home. We need some joy and love. Well, do you know anybody else who got not one, Dougie, but two pandemic puppies in the same year?
Wow.
Yes, I want to introduce you to the newest member of the Bedron family. Can you show me a picture of Charlie?
Yeah.
Bring up Charlie Brown. There he is. There's Charlie with the girls, and Charlie
Brown
is the Cavalier, Charlie Brownie, I think. Brownie, like Charlie Brownie. One of your favorite things you want to eat when you're not watching your figure. So Charlie's a Cavalier, just like Daisy, and he's what's called a black and tan. There's 4 different colors of Cavaliers. This is black and tan, and we are so thrilled. He's my wife's baby boy. He's the son I never had, right? And I'm not going to have. And it's just so exciting. Now, actually got him a couple days before the new year. So we actually got both dogs in the same year, which is kind of crazy. We went from 0 dogs to 2 dogs, and he's great. He sleeps from 10 o'clock at night to 7 in the morning, and loves to go out, loves to chase Daisy around. They've chased, they bite, they fight. It's hysterical, and really thrilled for the girls. You have another photo. I think maybe they were.
Who named them?
Oh, definitely Harper. I'm pretty sure Harper did. Well, Charlie's kind of short for King Charles. It's a Cavalier King Charles.
Gotcha. That was my next question. Is that in the King Charles family? I don't know how the breed works, but nice.
Yeah, it's same one.
Nice.
And they like to these dogs will like cuddle together, and they like to nap a lot together. If you're looking for a dog that doesn't require a ton of exercise and kind of you like to nap and cuddle and have a lap dog, this is your dog. I'm telling you.
So like this.
Oh, thanks a lot. There you go. Thanks a lot. Shout out to Mark Randolph from the podcast This Will Never Work, or That'll Never Work. He's one of the co-founders of Netflix, and I'm reading his book here. And the dogs just want to lie on you and hang out. There you go. And my house is turning into, I think that's a dog blanket as well. But that's what it is. There's no love like love from a Cavalier. So shout out to all my dog friends. And also wanted to tell you about New Year's real quick. I don't know if I had mentioned it. We were supposed to go to Turks and Caicos. We ended up canceling that because of the pandemic, which obviously stinks. But to be out of the country during the pandemic was certainly risky and something that we weren't comfortable taking. So we ended up having my wife's family come up from Delaware and stay with us. We had a lovely time. We had game night and cheese boards, and they've got a young baby who's walking now, my little nephew Bentley. And that was just great. So, sometimes in life you kind of get some lemons and, you miss out on this big trip. But the flip side was we were able to have this time together with our family that we didn't expect to have. So that was really, really special. And then I don't know if you've been watching last week, some of the sports, but the big news was Antonio Brown. I mean, did you see what happened during the Jets-Tampa game?
That is crazy.
Was that crazy?
Yeah. I mean, you're doing something you love to do. Like, you know what I mean? You're making lots of money. Like, really? Things could be worse.
Yeah. I mean, so I think the story was that they had asked him to go in on a play, and he said, no, I don't want to go. My ankle hurts. But, I didn't see him in the tent. I didn't see him with the trainer. I didn't see him on Jeff Krentzman's fantasy team. I mean, the guy caught a touchdown last year in the Super Bowl. He's had so many chances. He rips off his pads. He throws his shirt in the crowd. And then you have the picture. He starts dancing I mean, this guy starts dancing in the end zone. You know, what a fool. I'm sure Roger Goodell was just like getting heartburn like no other. And of course, had to throw it up with my own meme that the CDC now says you don't need to wear shoulder pads or a helmet when you play the Jets. I'm happy to beat up on the Jets and the Eagles, of course, because they're just disgusting.
It's funny how it was a Jet game. You know, he
I
was
know,
so
right?
he was so embarrassed he was losing to the Jets that he just quit.
Now, I will say when Tom Brady got the ball back at the end of that game, they needed a touchdown. There was like a minute and a half left or something. I went right to the FanDuel. I put down $5 or $10 on the the Bucks winning, and Brady won. And he I mean, I knew it without a shadow of a doubt. That was a done deal. They were going to win that game. But the Jets had a good game for most of it, and we'll see what happens with the Jets and the Giants. Obviously, this thing's been over for a few weeks for both organizations, and start looking to the draft and to next year.
Yeah.
So I want to cut to the chase. I want to get right into our special guest today. As we've talked about a lot on the show here, we've been investing in North Carolina, in Greensboro, in Winston-Salem, in High Point since about 2007, I believe, was our first acquisition. I don't know, 13, 14 years now. And, we have made some incredible relationships down in North Carolina. This area is called the Triad. It's like a triangle, the three major cities. And, relationships with brokers and lenders and owners and architects and engineers. But I have to say, I think probably my strongest relationship are with these two gentlemen from this company. I call them gentlemen, which is probably much too a fancy term for them. And they would be the first to admit that. But I want to welcome in to the Get Up with Garret show our guests today, Charlie Fulk and Spencer Bennett from Meridian Realty Group in Winston-Salem. Boys, are you there today with us?
We are here, Garret.
We are.
Thank you.
Good morning. I'm so glad they got dressed today for the show, Doug. Usually these guys show up.
Well, we don't know what pants they're wearing, but we see them.
Hey, thanks for naming your dog after me too, Garret. That's real nice.
I absolutely, you're 100%. That would have been the better story. That would have been the better story.
Nice to be part of your family. A real pearl.
Yeah. So usually these guys just give me a bottle of wine. Today we're getting a whole tour. We're getting to see Winston-Salem. They're actually in their beautiful conference room, and it's too bad the lighting's not great because the other side of their room literally looks out on the most beautiful view of downtown Winston. And we're gonna get a quick little look here. Charlie's gonna show us and see. There it is. Wow. Yep, there it is. You get a great view of some of the Wells Fargo buildings, the old BB&T buildings. I mean, some of these banks have changed name over the years. So you guys are what I would call my secret weapons. And, one of the reasons I wanted to start this show, the Get Up with Garret show, was I wanted to be transparent. I wanted to share with the audience what it's like to be an entrepreneur, what it's like to grow a business. It doesn't all have to be in the background and be secret. We can be out there. And so I wanted to be able to introduce you to the audience, which is up and coming entrepreneurs, real estate professionals alike that want to get into the business. And I thought it'd be a great way to start by maybe just having one or both of you guys talk a little bit about why are we doing so much business in North Carolina? What's going on now in North Carolina? Let's start macro with North Carolina, then bring it down more to like the Triad region, and then we'll get to Winston-Salem specifically. But why are investors like my family and other families in New York, New Jersey, or California, other areas now focused on North Carolina? Go ahead.
So it's really a combination of the demographics and the population growth in this area. Up north where you're located, Garret, you've got 7, 8, 9% population growth every year. Historically down here in the Carolinas, we've had 2 to 3%. That is shifting. People are moving away from the big cities. Even before COVID, we are seeing people starting to kind of migrate away from the dense environments down here into the sunshine states of the Carolinas and Virginia, even down into Georgia. Everybody's always kind of gone to Florida, but it's really just a push south that the whole entire Northeast is experiencing, and we are kind of in the way of where everybody's migrating. Right now in North Carolina, we've got one of the best highway systems in the entire country. If you're going north, south, east, or west, we've got a lot of industrial opportunity here. the way our land is situated, the ability to have access to sewer, those sort of things are all, we have them. We've always had them. We just haven't ever really gotten the attention that we're getting now. The multifamily market, the industrial market have never been stronger in this area. And you're just starting to see investors notice us for the kind of the first time in a 20, 30 year cycle. Winston-Salem was the banking capital of the East Coast for a long time, and that's how people knew it, but they never really took notice of our labor force, our kind of blue collar background, and our interstate system and that kind of stuff. So we're finally getting a look there. And the prices too. I mean, my goodness, you see the pricing up there in New Jersey is just ridiculous. You're over $300,000 a door, in the apartment world in a lot of cases. Down here, we're still cheap. We've got properties Class B, Class C that are trading under $50,000 a door. And when I say door, I mean apartment, rental units.
Right. Exactly.
All the way up. Now we're starting to see the prices elevate, but they're still nowhere near where you guys are up there. So it's a combination of kind of our time coming, our infrastructure system and highways, and then just pricing. Specifically here in the Triad, we've got all these colleges, campuses, and universities. Our system, our collegiate school system is fantastic. College towns are one of the first things investors look for when they're investing in property. It just shows that there's a runway in that town, that there's a future. Education is still kind of the engine that drives your community. So that's really, as far as, getting down to the micro level, that's really why we're seeing success here in the Triad. A little bit of the pricing too. You can't lease space in Winston or Greensboro or High Point. The pricing is about 2/3 of what it is in Charlotte or Raleigh. So it's kind of that same effect, macro. We have also micro here in North Carolina, and we're starting to see developers that used to build in Raleigh and Charlotte only are now coming and building in our backyard. So I don't think we'll ever see that 8 or 9% growth, like Raleigh and Charlotte, and now even, parts of Burlington are seeing a lot of population growth. We'll never see that here, but we kind of know who we are, 3 to 5% a year. And it's just a great time. We're fortunate to be in this business when we are, because, we might look back, in 20 years and realize this was kind of the boom in
right.
this area.
Right. So let me ask you though, look, North Carolina has never been a secret. I mean, these great universities, UNC, Duke, NC State, Wake, High Point U, Elon. I mean, there's just so many universities in the market. That's not new, right? The infrastructure is not new. People have been investing in Charlotte and Raleigh. I mean, Raleigh has had this incredible research and biotech push, and obviously Charlotte with banking, I think, in the 90s. So what's different, though, about our area now? Like, why is our area now, over the last 2 years, 3 years, getting hot versus, 15, 20 years ago, it was just kind of ignored when Charlotte and Raleigh started taking off?
Yeah. It's we've always had the colleges and universities, you're right, but we haven't always had the infrastructure system that's in place now, where you've got Publix and Lidl and Sheetz, and all these big time users have identified North Carolina as kind of a crossroads for how to get around the country. So that dynamic of distribution and logistics mixed with the education that's always been here has just kind of created a hotbed of interest in this area. So you've kind of got two factors. You've got a great workforce, a great blue collar, background and kind of base, and great highway systems mixed with a lot of education in the area that usually leads to the higher income
right.
jobs. So the spectrum's very wide. There's a lot of opportunity here. And I think we almost needed, nobody wanted COVID to happen, but it sure helped tertiary markets like ours and secondary markets, shake loose people that have wanted to get out of those urban environments. So it's just accelerated everything I've talked about. And that's what you're seeing now. That's an
interesting dynamic, because, for the audience, you often hear about these first-rate markets, which are like NFL city markets, right? So investors always want to be in New York, LA, San Francisco, Boston, dirty Philadelphia. And then you've got like these secondary markets that have really exploded. And then tertiary would be third level. And what I'm hearing is that investors, like the pricing has gotten so tight and so expensive on those primary markets, like New York City and LA, San Francisco, that investors are saying, you know what, let's go down south. Let's go look a little bit in North Carolina and Georgia, whether it's Charlotte, Raleigh, which I would say Charlotte is, certainly a primary or a secondary. But Greensboro was kind of Winston. We're always looked at as a tertiary. But they're finding that they can get a better return on their investment. So whereas maybe they can make a 10% return on an investment down in the Triad, they would only make a 4% in New York City. So obviously the investment's going to be better for them. What about things like, FedEx built their own kind of a second or third runway at the airport a number of years ago, and of course the Publix distribution center. Spencer, you want to talk about this tremendous new deal that just happened? You're familiar with the Toyota project at all?
Yeah, so Toyota just announced that they are going to go to one of our 4 mega sites along the Creative Corridor. It's a 120-mile strip between basically Fayetteville all the way to Winston-Salem. We have 4 mega sites, and Toyota has chosen to build in the Greensboro-Randleman site of the battery plant. It's going to create about 4,000 jobs. They have an expansion plan to go up to 8,000 jobs, but it's kind of piggyback on what Charlie said. Our infrastructure, our logistics, our airports has really put us on the map. To touch base on what you said, your investment dollar, you can spend less and make a better return. Our taxes are cheaper. So the Triad, which is made up of Winston-Salem, Greensboro, and High Point, we are about 1.2 million, 1.3 million population. So we do kind of, as a whole, we get to rival a Charlotte or a Raleigh. I know they're much more populated, but as a conglomerate, we really do get to compete with some of those. But yeah, we're very excited about the Toyota battery plant. I understand that we also have some interest from a new airplane manufacturer for PTO. So we're very PTI, sorry. So we're excited that we are now getting on the map for these mega sites.
Yeah, that's the boom. That's the boom Sonic, right?
Do you have a yet, Garrett?
I don't think the Bedron family jet is coming to PTI anytime soon. But
come get you one.
A few years at the way you're going, absolutely. But a few years ago, we missed out on a site. There was a deal on the table. Obviously, we didn't get the Amazon, but I didn't think we were going to get the Amazon headquarter. I thought that was a stretch. But the other one, I think it was maybe BMW or Subaru, or I forget who it was. There was a large car deal that we missed on. And I felt like, you know what? We're kind of close. Like, we're going to get something. We are going to get something. Obviously, the 840 loop around the city has been fantastic. Now you can go all different parts of the market without, kind of in a quick urban loop. And that's great for one of my shopping centers, the Battleground Plaza, where we just got the Chick-fil-A. They're opening this week. If you guys want a free chicken sandwich, just go tell them Garrett, and tell them you watch the Get Up with Garrett show. You get that free chicken sandwich, Spencer, at Chick-fil-A. But so I'm excited about it. This the Boom Sonic is like the Concorde, Dougie. It's kind of like it's an upstart company. They want to bring back the Concorde. It'll fly from New York to London in 3.5 hours, which means I could probably fly to Greensboro and check up on you guys in 15 minutes. So I'm coming. I'm coming. You still owe me a steak there, Charlie.
Yeah.
So that's
everything's so pricey right now. It's hard to do a deal with you and make you any money.
I know, and it's funny you mentioned the price differentiation. So, for example, brand new multifamily in northern New Jersey, kind of like our project, the Hedges back here, which we're hoping to debut obviously this summer. I'm hoping to. Now, I'm not looking to sell that, but if I were to sell those units, I think we could push $500,000 a door. Certainly, we're seeing comps above 400 already. But when you guys have seen brand new product in Winston-Salem, like West End Station, the Link, and obviously some of the other newer ones that are coming, I mean, you're only getting in the low 200s per door. Is that correct?
That's right. But even that is double what it used to be. It's just incredible how cheap we were, I think is the way to look at it. Ever since COVID, everybody that used to have a $500 or $600 a month apartment, now with the amount of money in the market, those folks can afford $700 and $750 a month now. And just that little delta from $500 to $700 a month has created this entire boom where, you know, properties used to sell for 30, 40,000 a key are now selling for north of 100,000 a key, because people see, you know, that this community, this part of the country, you know, hasn't risen in prices like you guys have up there. And we still have, it's changing now because people can afford, you know, a couple hundred more a month in rent. But we used to have just thousands and thousands of apartment communities, well, hundreds of communities, but thousands of units that were 500 to 600 a month. And that's great. Yeah. You want that, you want that part of your demographic to have a place to rent, but it was kind of like we were, you know, stepping on our own neck a little bit. And now we've gotten off of that, and these $700, $800 a month apartments have really risen in value. In some cases they've doubled. So we've still got some way to go. Come on down here. We'll sell you something for $300,000 a door any day.
So Garrett, I actually lived in Charlotte in 2015, and the company I was working with sent me down there with 5 guys. We had a 5-bedroom mansion with like an acre of property, $1,550 a month.
Wow.
That's a closet. That's a closet in the city. You know what I mean? So $1,550 a month is a 5-bedroom like mansion. We were there for a year. We were like 10-minute drive into downtown Charlotte. A beautiful house. Like they're not lying. It's great down there.
Oh, I know it. A good friend of mine, Nick Bishop, just moved to the Lake Norman area of Charlotte and saving a ton of money on his housing expenses versus the Bay Area. But you know, some of these new properties down in Winston-Salem are, you know, $1,500 a month, $1,300 a month, $1,400 a month. And up here, I mean, you can't get something brand new for under $2,000 a month. I mean, it's a huge difference. And guys, have you seen, based on the pandemic, like, are young professionals moving to this area where they're getting higher salaries, but they're allowed now to work from home? So maybe they were going to live in New Jersey or New York or Connecticut, but the company's saying, you know what, you can work from anywhere. And they say, you know what, I'll have a better quality of life. It's warmer weather. I can be outside a little more, and I can save a shit ton on my rent. Have you seen that happen at all?
Yeah, you know, we have buddies of our own that work from home now. A good buddy of ours that works at True Look here in Winston-Salem, he just is working from home. And I think it's, you know, they're still getting the same salary, and they get to come into downtown, experience it, and not have to be up in DC or some of the larger markets that's more expensive. They can save more.
Yeah.
True Look, shout out. This segment brought to you by True Look. Our buddy works for True Look. They're in the construction camera business. So Garrett, if you want to have time-lapse video footage of your project up in New Jersey, or anywhere,
maybe they'd like to be a sponsor of the show.
maybe.
You know what, let's stay with apartments for a second. Dougie, you want to bring up maybe the Hilltop House website, some of the photos here. I want to do a little bit of a deep dive here, guys. I have to give you guys a lot of credit. You really found an incredible opportunity for us to really jump into multifamily investing in the Carolinas.
Downtown.
There you go. Good shot of downtown in the background there. So Hilltop House was an interesting project. Why don't you tell us a little bit about the history of the project? What do you got there? The newspaper article? There you go. Was I in the cover of the paper or something?
No,
Bedroom buys Hilltop. Is that bedroom buys Hilltop?
That's the before, I believe. Oh, my bad, guys.
Yeah, that's okay.
The before,
that's okay.
Right?
Yeah, that
was actually the new building. That was one of the buildings was 55 units, and it was only about 10 years old, and that's that property. We call it Hilltop House South.
Yeah, Doug, that was the dog park. Hold on, we'll get to that.
Right, my bad.
That's okay. Charlie, tell us the history of this project. Tell us about the history of it.
Yeah, so this property was an eyesore for the community for many years. It was built as a Best Western hotel in downtown Winston. It was ultimately foreclosed on by the lender, and there was a doctor or some sort of investor came in and bought it with plans to convert it to a senior living facility. He did a little bit of work in one of the properties, changing out some HVAC units, and then he went belly up, and it went back to another lender, and it sat there for a couple more years, and finally, back in 2006 or 7, it was a gentleman by the name of Bud Baker, who was the CEO of Wachovia before it became Wells Fargo. He bought it. He just kind of picked it up. He was actually looking at a property across the street we had listed, and when he was done looking at that, he saw this property and said, "I kind of want that." It was only $600,000 or $700,000 for the entire property back then. It was very dilapidated. It was in rough shape. There were homeless people living in there. There was some weeds growing out of the pool that had kind of gotten into the common area where you walk through the hallways, and it was rough. And he picked it up. I think he bought it for $600 or $650, and then he started converting the units over time by stacking the 1-bedroom small motel type, 400 square foot units back to back and demolishing the wall and creating a 1,000 square foot unit or an 800 square foot unit. And then he started leasing them out as apartments. This was before the downtown multifamily boom that we've had. We had 1,100 units 13 years ago. Now we're over 4,000 multifamily units in downtown Winston. That's 350% growth in 13 years in that particular segment. So he was early to the stage, and he filled this up, doing low rents, $600 a month, $650 a month, that type of thing. And he did well with it, and he leased it up, and it was making good money for him. The rents were maybe $120, $130 a foot, possibly in some cases less than that. His model
per month, right? That's per month, just right?
Per month, yeah, per foot per month. So you got 1,000 square foot unit, you're $1,200 a month.
Got it.
At $1.20 back then. So he was just trotting along, making his money every year, not raising anybody's rent because he didn't want them to leave. That we call that rolling a unit, because when you roll a unit, you're going to spend a couple $1,000 on paint, carpet, and fixing the sink or whatever might have been damaged on the way out for the last tenant. So his motto was just leave them in there, don't raise the rent. So suddenly the world started coming up around him, and people started building more apartment communities, and the rents started getting more and more. And he took a look at his property, said, I'm getting half the rent that everybody else is getting. Maybe I should start increasing my rents, or maybe there's an investor out there that wants to buy, kind of in the middle, not buy at a stabilized, maxed out 5% cap rate, but buy sort of in that 7 to 8 range, and then that investor can then raise the rents and spend some money and fix up the place a little bit. And he decided to do that instead of spending his own money and raising the rents. He sold in the middle, and that's when I had the property listed. I had the relationship with Mr. Baker. I knew Garret. I met Garret in 2006 or 7 initially on the St. George Square deal. And have sold him some retail shopping centers along the way. And Spencer and I worked together on a lot of retail, and we both sort of felt like this might be right for Garret because of how undiversified he was. He was pretty much all in on retail, and there's nothing wrong with that. A lot of people are set up to just do retail. If you know it and that's your world, you can do well with it. But if you're like Garret and you're looking for ways to grow, and you're not necessarily have to be some hands-on manager, you're fine with third-party management like Meridian Realty Services. Thank you, Garret. We thought it would be a good diversification for him, and we thought we could sell him, we thought we could sell Garret to Mr. Baker because he didn't want to just sell to anybody. There were offers higher than what Garret paid, but we could tell the story of Garrett's investment in this community, that he's a long-term investor and he does what he says. There's nothing in this business we hate more than a retrader. And Garret is not known as one of those where you get to the end of a deal and you try to get it for cheaper just because you've held it under contract for 3 months. You feel like you've got the seller in a corner. Those are the types that, brokers.
So Charlie, what was it about? And it's not me, it's our family, it's our background, but what was it about the Bedrin family and the Bedrin brand that appealed to Mr. Baker? How did you get us over the finish line? Because it's important to understand it's not just about the final price.
Yeah, it absolutely wasn't, because there were people that offered more. Just the way you operate, the way you do what you say, and you don't try to overpromise. If you can pay a certain amount, you'll be straight up and you'll tell the guy on the other side of the table that's what you can pay, and you won't really try many games. Games work. Games are short-term successes. In the long haul, like you are set up to do as a young third-generation entrepreneur and landlord. There's lots of tread left on your tire, so to speak. And so the fact that we thought you wouldn't flip it. We thought you would own it and take care of it. And because, Mr. Baker, having run Wachovia for all those years, he really does care about the community. That's not just a saying that a lot of people do. He really does. So he wanted a good steward of the property. He didn't want to be the guy that cleaned up an eyesore just to have sold it to somebody that runs it as a no-tell motel or whatever you could do. So that's really it, just your track record, but the fact that you wanted to hold on to it long term, not a flipper, and it was a good fit. It was a good fit.
Gotcha. So look, I want everyone to understand this clearly. It's not just about the price. What's really important when you're doing deals like this is surety of close, right? And don't be afraid to put your cards on the table and be transparent and be pragmatic and explain to the seller, here's my strategy, here's my plan. Because when you're doing it at a certain level, the number one thing for the seller is surety of close. Will you come to the finish line with the exact deal that we talked about? Nobody can afford to waste time on lawyers and on deals that die. And that is the worst thing you can do in this business. So if you can't do a deal, be honest, be upfront and say, hey, we'll get you on the next one. But don't be afraid to be upfront and show them what you want to do. You will earn their confidence, and that will go a long way. Very important.
Right on.
Very important. All right. So let's jump into the deal. So what was important to me is I thought this deal was a really interesting opportunity, not just for the family to diversify into multifamily, but it felt like it was an opportunity to provide a reasonably priced apartment to the community. And when I say reasonably priced, I'm talking $800, $900, $1,000 per month. That's something that like a nurse can afford, a police officer, someone who's an x-ray technician, someone that I would call like workforce housing. These are important people. Certainly during the pandemic, we saw them even become even more essential, right? So for me, this was a way like I felt like I was doing good, but I also felt like I had a great hedge where if something happened and there was a recession or an issue, it wouldn't be my rents that got cut down first. It would be the $1,500 rents would get cut down. And maybe I would pick up some of those folks. So we've kept this property, very, very highly leased. And obviously Meridian has been managing it for us. And that's a whole nother episode with Jordan, who's been just a fantastic manager for us. I don't know how she kept this thing almost at 100% for the last couple of years, but she really has. And of course, there's been rental increases. But one of the things that was important to me, the way this property was developed, and Charlie skipped over this part, Mr. Baker actually built other sections. So there's like a north tower, then there's the middle old Best Western part, and then there's the south tower, which was pretty cool. That was actually, I'm blanking on the word, Charlie. What do they call that? Prefab or pods? Yeah, prefab or modular.
Fully
furnished. Next time I'll have to.
The chandeliers are hung. The entire thing is upfit as an apartment, and it comes in on a crane, and you stack it like Legos, and you can build a community in 45 days. It's kind of incredible.
I gotta get Dougie those pictures. We have them somewhere where they literally the apartments are coming in on a crane. It was so cool. And now I'm in the I guess I'm in the modular home business.
Yeah.
So it's walking distance to downtown, but it has a little bit of privacy. You're not kind of like in the dead on middle part of downtown where, there's a million people. And it feels kind of quaint. But I also felt like we needed to create a sense of community. And so we added what I would call like the bedroom touch, the little sparkle. We started doing our wind down Wednesdays. We started doing kind of holiday celebrations, get to know you, resident events. We put a lot of money into, painting and cleaning up. We redid the pool, all new furniture, grills. I think the whole pool had to be resurfaced. We started throwing pool parties. And I felt strongly that if we make it a fun place to live, you're going to want your friends to be there with you. And when your friends move in with you, the likelihood of you leaving, even if the rent goes up $20 or $25 or $50, not a huge amount, you're still going to want to stay long term. And for me, I think that's paid off. Doug, do you have the photo of the dog park? Because in case Daisy and Charlie come down, I want to show you what we added here. It's kind of a cute little upgrade.
So that, I believe, is this one.
Yeah, so that's nice.
Yeah.
So that was a real upgrade right away. Now show the before, Dougie. You got the before, same photo, just not so nice.
Yep.
I wish I had some before photos.
Next time. So that's what it looked like when I bought it. And right away, first thing I said was, this is being underutilized. Dogs are a huge desire for people that live in apartments. They want to have their dogs. And by the way, you charge money for these dogs. There's called dog rent. So that's a revenue source. So why would you not invest in it? So we spent about 15, 20 grand. We put down this really cool synthetic turf, like Antonio Brown was running all over last week. And we fenced it in. We got rid of some old shrubs, landscaping. All right, let me see the new picture again, Dougie.
Yeah. So the turf, is it like drainage? Because the dogs go to the bathroom out there. Like,
yes.
Is there a special system to that?
There is system. And I think we added some toys and stuff in there that may not be in this photo. So this property we paid close to $18 million, guys, just under 18 million, I think. And that was roughly like what, $105,000 a door in that range?
Yep.
Okay. So how does that compare? The brand new stuff was selling at what, between 200 and 2.25, you said?
Yep. 200 to 220. If you have amenities, you can get up over that 200,000 a key mark, which you do have. You're not going to be quite up there because you're not new construction, but you've made at least 40% on your investment. You're in that 150 a unit range, and you've only held it 3 years. So that's, if you just give your audience an idea of a 40% return in 3 years is pretty strong.
Jeez, Dougie's looking. He's like, how come I didn't?
Where do I sign?
Dougie just got a raise there.
Yeah.
Wow.
But
Dougie has his own company. He don't need me. So the interesting thing that I thought about this property, obviously it's great that it's worth, a lot more money than we paid for. But the reason why I thought that was interesting was because our rents on average are like $1,000 a month. And the newer stuff is around $1,500. So you don't have to be a genius in math, Dougie, to understand this. My rents are not half of their rents, right? Like, it's not a 50% discount to come to me, but yet I paid half the price of what the new stuff sells. So when you find those, what I'd call arbitrage or misunderstandings, that's where you want to jump. When I bought this property, I showed it to probably 2 or 3 big time apartment developers. And you know what they said to me, guys? I don't like the outside hallway. Okay, I don't like the outside hallway. So in this hand, you got a $5 million profit, but I don't like an outside hallway. I mean, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
And that's where we pounce, Dougie. That's what you got to pounce on. When people misunderstand, I call it, they're not wearing their glasses. They haven't done their windshield wipers on their glasses. When I saw this right away, we understood that would be well desired because these people, the nurses, the x-ray techs, they go to work and guess what? They want to just come home and go right to their apartment and go to sleep. They're barely there. So the outside hallway was not a big deal, not a big deal. It also is kind of efficient. You're less electric, less heating, right? Air conditioning. So we looked at that as an advantage. So remember, in business, when somebody brings up an objection, you got to figure out how to turn around and make it an opportunity for you to make more money, like we did. Okay, that's a little golden nugget for you guys today.
Yeah.
So I'm excited about that property. I'm not ready to sell it, boys, so I'm sorry. So don't go spending those big commission checks you were asking me for. All right.
Yeah.
Um,
We need to find you another one. That's what we need to do.
Yes, you will. You will.
You're out here looking. There will not be another Hilltop, I don't believe, because that cycle has kind of gone through Winston. But Garret, your footprint is growing, and we're out here looking around in other communities for you. You don't even know it.
Yeah, I know it, brother. I know it.
Garret,
I know it. Go ahead, Spencer.
What we like most about Hilltop is it's right on the Greenway. It takes you right into the innovation corridor, which I feel has really sparked a lot of the. You want me to talk about that?
Yeah, keep going. I'm telling Dougie to bring up the webpage.
Yeah, okay, perfect. So innovation corridor, if you go back in the 20s and 30s, it was all R.J. Reynolds tobacco. That's where they did all their headquarters, their growing facilities, their Reynolds Tower. And what happened is they donated all of their tobacco warehouses to Wake Forest, who partnered up with Wexford to create this biotech innovation corridor. 80 new companies down there. They're growing livers, hearts, lungs. They're 3D printing noses and ears. That has really given us a solid workforce. We came from a tobacco and Hanes brands and Texas Pete. A lot of those companies are overseas now. We have started to shift our workforce to more medical, biotech. About 30% of our employment in Winston-Salem comes from that. So we are, in theory, recession-proof. If you have a heart attack, have cancer, we have a big cancer wing, a big heart wing, you're going to go to the hospital. And what they're doing down in the innovation corridor is pretty cool. We saw Hilltop House right on the Greenway. You could walk there as a big plus for that workforce renter.
Yeah, Spencer.
That's awesome, man.
Spencer and I have a little saying: apartments are like commodities. All you have to do is lower the rent and fill it back up. It's not like a shopping center where if you lose a tenant, GNC goes bankrupt and they go out of a unit. Now you've got to find another tenant. Could take you 6 months, could take you 12, 18, 24 months. It's driven by market rates. You got to invest a lot of tenant improvement allowance into a deal. We could go on and on about retail, but in an apartment, if you start seeing people leave, just tick that rent down $50 and they'll fill back up. It's like a commodity. It's like the price of corn. It's like the price of sugar. It's always going to sell or lease. Driven
Spencer,
by
it's like the price of oil, Spencer, right?
OPEC.
So let's back up a little bit. Tell me a little bit about what it's like to be a broker down there in Winston-Salem, because I think not everybody understands the industry and the business. I look at you guys really as entrepreneurs because, in my understanding, typically real estate brokers only eat when they kill, right? Meaning they don't get a big fluffy salary. They don't sit in a big corporate tower. They got to be out there building relationships, making deals, creating new opportunities for themselves. And this show is all about helping entrepreneurs who want to get started. So let's talk about your experience, kind of like, why'd you want to get into being a broker? What do you like about the industry? What don't you like? Where do you think it's going? And then what are some of the skills that you think you need to get into that type of business?
Sure. You do eat what you kill. There is no salary, here or really anywhere in the industry. A lot of the larger national firms will offer a draw to younger, graduates that don't have the ability to make a commission right away because these deals, they take oftentimes 2 years sometimes to complete. When you're developing a site, when you're changing God's earth, and the amount of drainage and the amount of rock and the amount of manipulation you're doing to the earth, not to mention all of the environmental regulations that exist, but just functionally, so it doesn't flood and it doesn't, sinkholes. And there's so much stuff you do in commercial that you don't have in residential. It takes a long time to get deal closed. So if you see talent coming out of college, a lot of times you will offer them a draw, and once they start making money, you then the draw goes away. But that's uncommon, really. From $1, we're all commission. You split it with the company you work with, but you do eat what you kill. You're your own boss, though. You make your schedule. You're the one that tells. You have nobody really telling you how much money you can make. There's no ceiling.
Right. No ceiling.
Right, and obviously there's a floor, but it takes care of itself. If you're not out there hustling, if you don't enjoy what you do, and of course if you're not good at it, you're not going to make any money, and you're going to find another job. So there's not really. We don't fire anybody. Nobody's ever really been hired and fired. It kind of takes care of itself when you're in an all commission world.
Right.
So,
the numbers don't lie, right? You know exactly what you made with your effort, and you can either live off that or you can't, right?
Yeah. And some residential deal cycles 30 to 60 days, and the commission's nice. If it's a upscale home, our deals take 6 months, 12 months, 2 years. Yes, they're all multi-million dollars normally, but it takes a while. And there's a huge gamble that you're not going to get your rezoning or you're not going to get your permit. It's all contingent on these third-party people. And if you don't have the stomach for that, but you like real estate, you should do residential, and you should churn out those sales as many as you can every year. And that's great. We have a lot of respect for that, for the residential folks. But if you'd rather do, a lower deal flow with higher commissions, and arguably maybe use strategy a little more than networking, commercial real estate's for you. And we've.
So what are some of the skills, Charlie? What are some of the skills that you would identify in someone that could be a successful real estate broker on the commercial side?
I think you have to be able to listen more than talk. In commercial, it's not really a sales pitch you're giving about the neighborhood or the Tudor house and the landscaping and all of that. It's more about the traffic that's coming, the new road systems coming in. Where's the demographic shifting? Where is the next pocket for development going? So it's just a different sort of skill set, and it's worked well I'm a numbers guy. And not really an English major type. And so it's worked well for me. Both Spencer and I got our CCIM degrees, which is like a graduate level study program in commercial real estate. Any entrepreneurs out there, I think you would also benefit from taking a course, ccim.com. It's a certified commercial investment member. It's a very stringent course study. It's about the same amount of hours as a graduate level degree program, and then you take a comprehensive test. And it's just the numbers side of real estate. Income producing real estate's a whole different animal than buying a shopping center,
Absolutely.
leasing it out, and managing that. When you're acquiring an income producing property, you have to value the vacancy rate in the market. You have to know the expenses, what's real, what's not. A lot of sellers will take out expenses when they try to sell you something, and you have to just, have experience more than anything to be able to identify, what's this guy pulling out of here that, makes this NOI so high. And then the second you own it, you realize, you owe some sewer pumping company 100 miles away some fee because you offload your drainage to their system or something that they hid from.
Right.
So you just got to know what to look for. And, Garrett, you've done well. You've learned kind of on your own how to value income producing property. It's not always what the seller says it is, and that's important.
Right. Of course. Let me ask you a tough question, and then we're gonna close up because I know you guys have some other appointments. But
got to go find
on the
yourself
show.
a
I know you got to go make that High Point deal. You got to make all these other deals we're working on. So, but listen, seriously, on the show, I talk a lot about the middleman is under pressure right now. That technology is taking away the middleman in a lot of businesses, right? Are you guys scared or concerned at all? Or what do you think about the future of real estate brokerage? Do you envision a day where, buyers and sellers, tenants and landlords are not using brokers in the future and they're just communicating through different networking tools online and apps? Tell me about the sustainability of your business.
I think you're going to see a shift in more for the easy transactions, but where I think we fit in so well to our clients is we maintain relationships. Real estate is more about relationships than doing that one deal. Much like we've worked with you for years and years and years, we've maintained relationships. As brokers, we try to think outside the box when things get a little hairy. I remember Hilltop House. There, we ran into a small little environmental issue. I find myself driving to Raleigh to go to the Department of Natural Resources office, looking through their file. Artificial intelligence can't do that. That deal would have died. Your interest rates would have increased, and it could have blown the deal. So those small things, you need brokers. I do see a shift in the future, but I think that the experienced client, the knowledge is power. Artificial intelligence can't really replace that. But if Charlie has anything.
No, yeah,
else,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Spencer's right. You know, in the residential market, Zillow is starting to make it easier to list your own home and sell it. And there's comps available so that a buyer can feel good about what they pay, like Carfax for residential real estate. But in commercial, we do have CoStar, which is kind of like the Death Star in the sky that controls all the data on every commercial property in the entire country. They've got these black vans that drive around and inventory everything. Those guys will call your client if your listing expires and keep the property on the market in their system. But ultimately, a buyer who finds that property is going to need a commercial broker if there's any hair at all, if there's any questions about zoning and permitting and, you know, whether or not the property's in a brownfield environmental program or something. I think we will be the last to go in the real estate world, but we're all facing that. I mean, I feel like every industry is facing that automation coming at them. So hopefully it just doesn't happen in our lifetime, and we can ride on.
There you go. Okay, Dougie, we gonna get ready for our lightning round here? Do we have our
Absolutely.
Our time clock? So look, guys, as part of the Get Up with Garret show, all our guests have to go through our lightning round, where we ask you 4 or 5 same questions, and you are on the spot for kind of your quick first answer. All right, and so you guys can each answer. You know, maybe Charlie go first and Spencer goes second after each question.
This wasn't a contract, Garret.
This was not in the agreement. But we're going to keep it nice and light. Think of the first thing that comes to your head, okay?
All right.
You ready? All right, Charlie. Business book, a favorite business book that you'd recommend to an up-and-coming entrepreneur?
Yeah, I don't read, so that's a tough one. I would say this book of quotes that my father has, and I'll have to follow up with what it is.
Okay, book of quotes. What about you, Spencer?
Any Warren Buffett book.
Any Warren Buffett book? Okay.
I do
All right,
have
you guys.
Mike Lipsy, motivational commercial real estate DVDs. If you're not a reader like me, go pick them up.
There you go. All right. You've seen a lot of consumers go to outer space, and this is a place where I would like to go visit and maybe have some real estate one day. Who would you trust to take you to outer space right now? Jeff Bezos, Richard Branson, or Elon Musk?
Elon.
Elon? Definitely Elon? Okay. I don't know if you guys have ever seen my Instagram, but I usually have a lot of pictures of vanity plates on the cars. I love taking pictures of vanity plates. I grew up and my parents had them. So if you had to have a vanity plate on your car, what would it say?
It would be our phone number.
Okay. All right, good. All right, this is a Ted Lasso reference.
Which would you say, Dad?
He
Not number one, Dad. Not number one, Dad. Just Dad.
Number 2, Dad.
Number 2, Dad. Okay. Best concert and first concert.
Best concert, Eric Church, about 5 years ago. First concert, the Beach Boys with my
Nice.
I'd probably say Eric Church best concert. First concert, probably Hootie and the Blowfish at Ziggy's.
Wow. Cool.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to throw in one last question for you. Who's going to win the big college football championship game?
I think Georgia's going to pull it out this year.
Go Dogs.
I know you guys are big college football guys, so had to throw that in there at the end. So that's it, man.
All
Ring the
right.
bell,
Thank
Dougie.
you for having us. Hope this was informative and helpful.
Yep. Thank you,
Yeah,
Garrett.
man.
Always a pleasure.
Good job.
I
on
love
the-
working with you guys.
Great job.
You guys have been a great friends and really helpful to helping the family grow the business for our investors as well. And if anybody wants to get in touch with you, they can reach below right here, right? And at the Meridian Realty Group. That's on Instagram.
Absolutely. Meridian Realty Group.
See
We're
all your
here.
listings, right?
It might not have a V
I
on
think
it.
it's meridianrealty.com.
That is the
Well,
website.
this is
Yeah, meridianrealty.com.
Go there.
Yeah.
I think
Yep,
that's
you
the
can go to the
Instagram.
website.
I'm pretty sure.
that's that's the
Maybe
Instagram.
that's it.
That's
Our
the Instagram.
social game is.
You guys don't know.
Pretty sure
You
that's
don't know
it.
any
I
on
got
Instagram.
you. That's what I do. So
I-
All right. All right.
Call
See you
Dougie if you
guys.
need help with the Instagram.
Okay,
Thanks,
yeah.
guys. All right, Dougie.
nice stuff.
So that was it. Did you learn something today about real estate investing?
Every day I learn something with you on the Get Up with Garrett show. It's great. It's great information, my man.
That's the give back. We're here to share our secrets. We're here to share our tips, our tricks for success. And you know, what you're hearing consistently with the guests and my friends, it's about relationships, right? We hear that over and over again. You know, you may find a transaction, whether it's a house for sale or a business opportunity, and that may be a one-time transaction that comes from AI or from some other network, but over time, it's the relationships and being a good listener. I think Charlie said was super important, that they understand what their clients need and really work with them, because these deals do take a long time. I've been working on something now for a couple of years that finally went into a bid process, and we'll talk more about it over the next few months as we're allowed to publicly share about it. But man, it's taken forever. But you can work on other things while you're doing that, right? So anyway, I appreciate everybody spending their morning with us. I'm sorry that we started a little bit late today because Charlie and Spencer had some other morning appointments. They're out there hustling and grinding, which we love. And look forward to connecting with everybody in the future. If you have any questions, you can always email the show, getupwithgarrett@gmail.com, right? Or send
Yes,
us a DM, whether it's on Instagram or Facebook, LinkedIn. But there it is, the Instagram. And look forward to seeing everybody in the near future, and hope you have a fantastic rest of the day. Play me out of here, Dougie.